Welcome to our podcast. It's On the Wings of Angels and Chief Financial Credit Union. I'm JoJo Dries, the founder and director of On the Wings of Angels, and we have with us Tom, the CEO of Chief Financial Credit Union, and Cheryl Boodram, the Chief Financial Officer and Executive Vice President of Chief Financial Credit Union. And the reason we're talking here today is I'd like to get to know you all a little bit better. We've been friends for a while. You've been friends of On the Wings of Angels, and you've been supporting us. And so we'd like to dig a little bit deeper to understand a little bit better about Chief Financial's vision and mission and why you do this. So first of all, I'm going to start the first question with Tom. Tom, you're the CEO, and they say it's leadership. It's all about, top down, what the CEO does or what the leaders do, and everyone else follows suit. So tell us about the energy that you bring to Chief Financial, why it's important to you to support nonprofits, and how, as a leader and visionary, you kind of pass that down to the rest of the team.
I think that's a good question because I think any organization kind of takes on the personality of its person at the top. And at Chief Financial, we like to have fun.
Yes, I love
As
that.
you know a lot of my team. But if you look at financial institutions around the area, we all do the same thing. We all have checking accounts and loans and on and on. So we're always trying to find something to set ourselves apart. And it just kind of came natural that, we all love the community that we're in. We love to support nonprofits, especially, and we spend a lot of time. We kind of punch up above our weight, really, when it comes to the size of our credit union versus banks and other credit unions and such. Very proud of my team that they bought into that, or they buy into it by nature, really.
I love that. And as the Chief Financial Officer, Cheryl, you had the position before where you kind of made the decisions of which nonprofits are funded and all of that. And now, you see where the money goes here and there. Mm-hmm. Why is it important, financially speaking, to a credit union and to your team to support nonprofits?
I think that ties into our tagline is more than money, which is kind of a play on words, right? Because we deal with a lot of money. But at the end of the day, you can't just look at a financial statement and see the whole story. And we never expect a dollar for dollar return on our community investment. I think that Tom has always set that expectation that we're building relationships and we're here to stay. And we made that huge investment when we moved into the Rochester community, and we were just kind of testing it out. And I think we did like 200 events that first year.
Wow.
We did, yeah.
It was a busy year.
It was.
We're just kind of stretching out and finding our place. With us, to Tom's point of us like punching above our weight, we are small, and I love that about us because I think that makes us scrappy.
Yeah.
But it also means that we have limited resources, and so a lot of us wear a lot of hats. There's never like a defined line between like, oh, I'm only going to do this and I'm only going to do that. There's been plenty of times where we've like tagged Tom in to like underwrite loans or, we all take turns like filling in to cover lunches at branches. Like there's no like I'm above doing something. Wow. And when you take on all of that and you wear all those hats, I don't know how we would do it without the joy that we get from giving back with our community partners. And we have seen it pay dividends. We've had relationships that it turns out like 3 years later, someone comes to us and they're like, hey, we'd like a commercial loan through you because of what you did 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, we definitely play the long game, don't we?
Yes.
It's not. Wow. It's impossible to really say dollar for dollar. What our involvement is paid back.
Yeah.
But it is years later. You'll hear from someone, and they need some help or whatever.
And we're in the long game with our members too, right? My nephew, I've got a little account that I opened for him, and I hope we're gonna be here, when he's ready for his first car and on to college and first home and all of that. Like we're in for the long game with all of our relationships.
Mm-hmm. And we recognize that at On the Wings of Angels. At the end of the day, as a nonprofit, there's a lot of toxicity in the space. Whether you're a business owner or a nonprofit founder and director, you see there's a lot of toxicity and people that are in it to for very selfish reasons, or they feel like there's not enough pie to go around, or they're very territorial of their space. And Chief Financial seems to have that open heart, open mind. We're in it for the community, and that's very reflective in the nonprofits that you work with. So thank you for that. So you said something about the event room. So we've hosted a few events in there. I'd like to touch on that for sure. We just experienced an amazing event. We had hosted 65 people in that event room in Rochester. And your service and the quality of the audio and the quality of the room and all of that was, comparative to a lot of other spaces that are specifically event spaces. And you didn't charge us. And that was fascinating to me as we got that quality without having to pay an exorbitant amount of money. Tell us the vision behind that and why that's important to you.
Well, that's a good one.
It's a funny story.
But, it is in our DNA to be part of the community and give back as much as we can. When we first came to Rochester, where our building is now, it's visible from Rochester Road, but not really. Mm-hmm. And we had always said, well, we're behind the scuba shop or next to the Cadillac dealer. Yeah. But it was difficult to kind of say where we were. Well, kind of what happened, I was at an event, and one of the employees from the city, Rochester Hills, took me aside and said that there were a number of people, banks and credit unions, trying to buy that building. Mm-hmm. And, well, that's something we talked about it. So we're going to have to buy it. We didn't need the space, but we thought, now we're going to have to say, well, we're behind so-and-so bank.
Bank. That would not have been
good. So we bought it, and then the question became, well, what do we do with all this space? And the idea came up to make it a community center. And it was just, I kind of look at it now of all the effort that we put into, the community. That's now a visible capstone. Yeah. It visibly shows what we do. Yep. And the fact that we do it, at no cost. I can't tell you how many people have called and thanked me, and they're so appreciative that they do that. And it's building on itself. Yeah. And we'll have 60 people in there, and then 2 more people want to have an event. Yeah. And we've had, I don't know the number, 7,000 people maybe come through that in the last year and a half or so. So, yeah, it's...
Well, because of our event, you actually got one in August now. So one of my friends actually booked the room in August, I think August 14th or something. Yeah. But I will tell you, side note, I would have paid for that because that was a wonderful experience. It truly was.
Cheryl, type out an invoice.
Yeah.
Right?
Creating the new general ledger now.
Right?
And just to expand on what Tom had said about that, it's funny because when you look out of one of the windows in Tom's office, you overlook that area, and I remember being in there like, I can't tell people we're behind the bank.
Bad branding.
Right.
Yeah.
But there was plenty of times, like through COVID, I mean, we were under construction in COVID, and that was a very weird time because if you didn't get the construction crew, you weren't building for like a year, and we were holding up on permits, and
supply chain was...
There was so much uncertainty, and then, in that space, it was kind of like, are we ever going to come back to in-person events? And now we're building this space that we don't know if anyone's going to use it or want it. Like, there was a ton of uncertainty. And so, thankfully, Tom really just had us keep, facing forward and let's tackle the next thing. And we made the 5 million decisions that go into a space. I think, didn't you joke and say, by the time they asked you what kind of plates you wanted over the electrical sockets, you're like, I'm done.
What color of plates you want? I just kept saying, let's go for broke, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think you touched on something very important. You said a statement. You said sometimes you just have to put it out there, and even though that might be your dream and you don't know what's on the other side of it, right? You have to put it all on the floor. Well, that's what we do at On the Wings of Angels, and you partnering with us was a part of that vision that you all have, right? We did a lot in 12 months, before you fully invested in On the Wings of Angels. But having said that, we're still a relatively brand new organization. So I'd love to touch on that mentality because you're both leaders within the organization. So that must be the way that you do business at Chief, is trusting those decisions. And to your point about the financial ledger and not, can't be dollar for dollar, but what goes into that decision? So I'm a nonprofit, one of your teammates, Ashley, serves on our board, but what goes into that whole vibe of, okay, this is the nonprofit we're going to help? Because we're one of many that Chief invests in. So can you tell us a little bit about that and the risks that you might take in those moments?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it is just a gut feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really know, until you're kind of involved in it. Your organization especially was, kind of felt like you came out of the blue. All of a sudden, boom, I thought you were around for 20 years or something, as many things as you do. But no, I mean, it goes back to what I said earlier, is that the personality starts at the top, and it's you're a driving force on the Wings of Angels. Mm-hmm. And, it helps a lot of people. We do have limited resources, mm-hmm. and, we'd love to be able to sponsor someone in a beauty pageant or something, but it's one person.
Yep.
But when it comes to, an organization like yours, you help a lot of people. So it makes it an easier decision to go that direction. So.
I love that. And tell us about, so you called me one day and you said, JoJo, we have a vehicle, the old Chief Financial Credit Union vehicle that has been used by our teammates. We'd like to donate that to a survivor. Tell me what went in your head to actually make that phone call and think of that idea.
So full disclosure, I called him first.
Okay. I love that.
That's not quite a decision that I would make on my own. So I called Tom, and I'm sure that he's like come to be terrified. He probably has PTSD from these phone calls where I'm like, so hear me out. Or even worse, when I come in his office and I'm like, I have an idea.
Right, I start to sweat.
He's like, oh God, I'm busy. I'm late for a meeting. But I said, we were having trouble we were trying to sell the chief on that like a site and ownership and individual login to it, like just became a mess. And the chief, we call our vehicles the chief or chief mobiles.
Okay,
just so
I love
everyone
that,
knows.
Chief Mobile.
And so so we were having trouble, and you had told me a story about an individual that just needed transportation, and with us trying to get rid of ours, and it's super cool that our vehicles are branded and we do get use out of them, but the mileage is always low because it's not that like every day running around. Mm-hmm. So even though it's a little older, low mileage, it's got great value. And so it just popped in my head like, well, we don't just give money, right? Like more than money.
Yeah.
We could give a vehicle as well. And then when I called you and we had that conversation and you were like, well, I got to kind of work on this. And it just really came together. And then honestly, getting to be there to see the woman that received that vehicle, like oh my gosh, I think about her so often. Like just like a little quick, like, sending love,
Well, I want you to know we still text because at On the Wings of Angels, we keep in touch with all of our survivors that we help, and it's at least once a month. We keep tabs on them to make sure they're still doing well, if there's any other things that they need from us. So the team's always reaching out. And every time I talk to her, she just gushes about you all. And we actually posted one of the the behind-the-scenes interview with her without her face. And she responded to that post and just said, this was the day that my whole life changed for myself and my sons. And so I know it's hard for me to keep in check here. I don't want to cry on camera here, but I want you to know she's still very, very wildly affected by that. She's doing well with the Detroit Police Department because she's doing all that training. She has the exams and all that to take, so it's all going very well for her. So yeah, the story that somebody that was abused and a victim is now empowering her life, and how a vehicle and transportation can change the whole trajectory of someone's life it's one of my favorite and most powerful stories. So thank you.
And then also just quickly to add to that, I always say fun with financials because I'm just a proud nerd and I will get down on Excel all day long with my financials. But for our team, that could have just been a financial, like reducing a fixed asset.
Yep.
It could have been a transaction in our core processor, and instead we got to have so many people there. Our team members got to see it. People that couldn't be there have seen the video. So it took something that would have just been like a debit and credit, and made it
dispose of this car.
Yeah,
I mean, I think I just love that story. I'm like you, I'm just so emotional about it. But there's also others that we don't know how much we help.
Yeah.
And even just as a financial institution, just giving someone a loan on their first car,
Yeah.
or someone needs a loan to go to the funeral in Florida. We make a lot of exceptions for things like that. But I love being able to see the ones that we help, but there are others that we don't. I don't know how you would ever know, but
Yeah.
it's knowing that that's out
And
there.
actually, it's interesting you said that, because one of my questions was, so domestic violence or abuse in any form is not an easy topic to talk about. In fact, many of us just brush it under the rug. We kind of put it out of our minds. But, 1 in every 4 women and 1 in every 7 men has reported to have received some sort of domestic violence in their lifetime. 44% of domestic violence goes completely unreported. Now, domestic violence happens to women and men. We normally talk about it in the space of women. But Tom, what allows you to be brave enough to have this conversation, to support an organ? I mean, I've gone to CEOs and other people, and they don't want to touch this topic. They don't want to sponsor us because it's a sensitive topic that they don't want to be associated with. So what allows you to be open to that?
Well, I guess I'm having a hard time figuring out why that would be an issue, because the opposite should be true.
Yes.
There's another organization that we're involved with that does the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's one of our, top ones that we are involved with as well. But I mean, I'll just for example, I was on TikTok.
Yeah.
And there was this discussion came up, and there was a lady in the comments just said something about how she had never experienced any kind of joy in her life because of the situation that she was in. Yeah. And I thought, how many people are like that? That person's like anonymous.
Yep.
I think she's probably still anonymous, maybe.
Yeah. Yep.
But how do you reach out? Those are the ones that I think about often. Are some people are open enough about it, and they're probably strong enough to get some sort of help.
Yep.
It's the ones that are embarrassed or afraid or whatever. How do you find them?
Yeah.
And you're the expert, but it bothers me that there are people out there.
That there are people out there like that. And to that point, so Cheryl, you have a personal story. If you would share some of that with us, because going from where you came from to being the CFO and executive vice president of a financial institution is one of the most powerful survivor stories I've heard. So would you mind sharing with us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I love telling the story. I always feel bad, though, because I feel like people are going to look at Tom and be like, why'd you give that guy? What were you thinking?
I ask myself that question
all the time. Then that's what we want to show people, is that on the other side of this violence or abuse, you can achieve these great things, right? I tell my story all the time, my personal story from where I was to where I am today, so that people see that hope, that if one person believes in you, which is what we're trying to show survivors. We believe in you. We support you. We got your back.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, we were at a business lunch the other day, and people were talking about how they got into, like, the financial industry, and, like, they were great stories, right? Like, oh, my dad was a commercial loan officer forever, or this or that. And I was like, well, my probation officer thought I should get a job other than bartending. And, like, they were like,
wait, what?
And, and I think that what's so great about my experience at Chief is that I never had to hide where I was. And thank God, because that's all I did was hide. And a lot of these things come from abuse. My mother left my father when I was younger because he was abusive. He was an alcoholic. I grew up and fell into the grips of alcoholism and was in extremely abusive relationships, and was significantly injured. And, as a result, the probation officer thing really isn't a joke. I had a DUI. I was an alcoholic. They come together. And when I started at Chief, I started as a part-time teller, and I was I was approaching 30, and my joke to everyone was, well, I decided I needed insurance, but I came to work, it was very different. You know, I would have 1 week's paycheck that was like the same as one shift's bartending, and you know, it'd be deposited, and I'd be like, wait, I don't get that tomorrow too. But you know, they were implementing like cross sales. And I remember asking the branch manager, like, what's a cross sale? And she's like, you know how like when someone asks for like a vodka and cranberry, you always sell Grey Goose? And I was like, oh, I can totally do that. It's just with checking accounts.
It made me nervous for a second. It's like, what were you selling?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like, oh, we need to someone edit this. And so, you know, I did really well at that. And at Chief, when anyone is doing well, we have so many stories of people like doing well and then being given an opportunity. So like, I am definitely not the only one. That is the culture of the organization. And I was able to become a full-time teller, and then a position in indirect lending, which is like the dealership lending department, which reported directly to Tom, opened up, and I got like a nudge, like, hey, you should apply for it. It wasn't on my radar at all. And then in that time when I was working in indirect, you know, everything was kind of building, right? I was still on shaky ground coming out of an abusive relationship. You're not, it takes a long time.
That's right.
You know, people think like, oh, it's been a year, you should be better. Right. It takes so long to rebuild, and still struggling with alcoholism. And now I had this like career that I've only had jobs, right? So now I have this like potential career, and it was all kind of colliding. And it wasn't doing well, and Tom had to have a meeting with me, and he was like, don't blow this. Like, don't, you know, what was I quote him all the time. He's like, I don't even remember saying it. He's like, you can't be great if you don't show up.
Wow.
And so all of those things in my life started like kind of circling each other, and I ended up getting into recovery. And actually this month it'll be 12 years that I've
Cheryl,
Thank
congratulations.
You. Been in
That's
recovery huge. And worked my way up in indirect lending, and you know.
A quick little story when Cheryl was a new clerk in our indirect lending department.
Yes.
We had her in this little closet. It's like, I don't know if she's going to make it. Put her in the closet over there.
Yeah.
It was a tiny little office. And she had all these files stacked up, and she's working away at something that didn't look like her normal duties. Yeah. And we had been working with a third party that they were supposed to place liens on vehicles, and they weren't doing it. But she figured it out, like on her own, and just started doing it. I mean, she didn't tell anybody that she was doing it. Until I asked her. But it showed me that, you know, we have someone here that has something.
Yeah. Well, and that's just the thing. I love that story, and I love what you were saying, because that's my whole point about survivors, right? Yeah. Is that you may have been in this ugly situation, but for those listening, right, it could be your sister, your cousin, your coworker. It could be anyone. It doesn't matter their socioeconomic level. It's not all one type of race. It's not all one type of, you know, financial status, but we all have that potential in us. And sometimes we just need that person to say, all right, I got you, or a probation officer to say, go try this, and a leader to believe in you.
Oh, and all the way, I ended up, you know, going back for my bachelor's degree, and Tom had gone back for his bachelor's degree. So there would be days where I'd just like have a meeting with him, and really the only conversation was, I don't know if I can do this.
Yes.
I don't know. And even if it was just like sharing, oh, I remember when I was pulling all-nighters and stuff like that. And
well, don't give me too much credit for believing in her, because when I gave her that talk, it was like the last talk. I didn't think she was going to make it. I'm being sincere.
But that's
it's
just
like
the
one
thing
last
too.
shot. This is your last chance.
Yeah. But that's just the thing too, is I think survivors, we need those types of, that challenge, that, you're going to challenge that? Okay, I got this, and I'm going to win.
Well, and also for some of our other people that have been really successful, they have shared that at other financial institutions they worked at other jobs they held, like there wasn't that, I know Tom calls it the last talk, but there wasn't even that effort made.
That's right.
That outreach made. And we've been able to do that for many employees now, because another thing you have to know is that like when someone's struggling with stuff like this, it comes out sideways.
That's right.
You know, it comes out like, I mean, I've seen, and it's happened to me too, where like you handle all these big, huge things, and then this small thing happens, like a PDF won't open on my computer, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't.
That's true.
You know, and so to be able to like be understanding of that and being
Yes.
like, okay, let's maybe take a step back. Let's breathe. Let's talk. What's going on? How can we help you?
Yeah, you do need to kind of look for signs that someone's acting a little bit out of their character.
Yes.
You know, if they've been there for a year or 2 or 3, whatever, and they're always on time, they good mood, all of that, and all of a sudden they're acting differently.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean necessarily it's time for
Yeah.
discipline. It's
Yeah.
like, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
Let's find out more and get to the bottom.
Let's peel back that layer.
Yeah,
100%.
and maybe they just need some grace for a while to,
Yeah.
to get over that. And then
Yeah.
generally what we find is that they're very grateful, right? And
Yeah.
they become excellent employees for the long term.
I absolutely love this part of the conversation because that's part of my whole reason to do this interview with you both is I get to see this and we get to do lunch and spend hours, talking and so forth. But a lot of the community might not know the behind the scenes piece of this. And living in a family and a business for so long, that was like a whole facade, right? It was like we looked great to the outside, but behind the scenes it was ugly and, I was being abused and all of that. It's nice to peel back the layer to something beautiful like this, for the community to see that. And one of the things that I've really noticed about all of you is that you put your full effort into whatever it is. And Tom, one of the things you encourage your team to do is to join boards or to be volunteers in the community. And On the Wings of Angels has had the wonderful benefit of having Ashley Chambers from your team, also your executive team, on our board for a while now. And not just that, Ashley was helping us before. Ashley's been a friend of mine and giving us a lot of advice. And then your teammates have also volunteered on our events or in any capacity. What is that culture, and why is that important to you that your team actually participates in that way?
Well, I mean, just a side note, Ashley is a true believer. I don't know if she told you, but I didn't know she was on your board until it was a little bit after.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to get on this board, boss.
Right.
I'm going to get all this credit.
Right.
She's doing it because she really believes in.
Well,
in
we love
what
Ashley. She's
you
done
do.
wonders for our organization. What I love about her is she's the yin to my yang. A lot of the things that I don't do really well, she does super well. So it's
good to
nice to
hear.
have her on. It's
Good to
really
hear.
nice to have her on the team.
She was just recognized as one of the Oakland County Executive Elite 40 under
40
40.
under 40.
She sure
Yes.
was. I saw you were there with her. That
Yeah.
was awesome.
But we do work hard to plant the seed with our employees because a lot of people have never volunteered and they've never done anything like that. And we do give some incentives for them to volunteer. They get points and prizes and days off. I don't know what they all are, but they get free stuff.
Cheryl knows.
No, he's right.
But we find that once they start doing it,
Yeah.
it gets in their blood as well.
Yeah.
I had someone tell me one time, they said, we have another credit union. I'm not going to say the name, obviously, but they'll write a check sometimes.
Yeah.
But he said, chief will write a check, but then they'll show up in force.
That's right.
There's like 5 people there or 10.
That's right.
Instead of just one that has to show up, right?
Yeah.
and they have a good time. We don't, we're not out there to try to
No.
wrangle up business or whatever. Just
No.
everyone knows what we do. They're in a good mood, and it reflects. I think it does.
I love that. It really shows. Part of this conversation here is, it's not just about On the Wings of Angels. You support a lot of nonprofits in the community. Can you tell the audience? I always say it's not the JoJo show, right? Everyone, I'm a force to be reckoned with, and I'm always out there. But I also like to shine the light on other wonderful organizations. So can you tell us about some of the ones that you believe in and why, and so the audience can also take a look at them and maybe support them as well, please.
Well, I think one of our first ones and probably our biggest partnership is with Leader Dog for Lyme. When we first got into the Rochester area, the story, Melissa loves telling the story now. She's the CEO there. How I decided I'm just going to walk down there. It's not far. Well, it's all uphill.
Literally the entire way is
It was
uphill.
90 degrees out.
Oh my gosh.
I walked into Leader Dog, and I was really just going to ask for water. They thought I was being nice. No, I'm just kidding. I really was going there to talk to them about a partnership. But that started that whole discussion with them. And how long has it been? 9 years? 8 years?
So was that like the
10
first
years.
big one that
First
you did?
big one is that,
okay.
yeah.
10
for
years.
10
Yeah,
years.
that was
Okay.
2015 that was formed.
Yeah, and we just celebrated $500,000
Oh wow, that's so
in actual cash contributions to them. That's not counting, volunteer hours
That's
and
right.
pencils or things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But they're our first one in Rochester, and for sure the biggest. Do you have any that come to mind? That
Yeah. So we also have Rochester Christian University. We partner with them. For both Leader Dog and Rochester Christian University, we have debit cards and credit cards that feature them, and their supporters can utilize those. And then
I love that card for Leader Dog because it's a puppy that's
Yeah.
on my
Oh,
card.
that's so
I'll go to a
cute.
restaurant and they're like, "I love your puppy."
Yeah.
Well, it's
Can
not
you
my
pick a
puppy.
different one?
You can.
Side note? Okay. Okay. That's so cool.
We also have Gilda's Club. They have several locations now, but we're primarily with the Royal Oak location. And
Actually, Gilda's came into play, I think, even before Leader Dog when we were still
yeah, we were
wow.
still in
headquartered
Pontiac.
Yeah.
And they do a really awesome event. One of our team members was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer last January, and it really, one of the side effects of us volunteering together and being in the trenches together and all that is how tightly we've bonded. And so when our team member was diagnosed, I mean, like it shook the whole organization. But we already had that partnership with Gilda's Club, and they showed up. So anyone that needs help, especially, if you're bound at home suffering with cancer and you're in an abusive relationship, that's not a good place to be. But they do an amazing event called Bras for a Cause. And I think like Victoria's Secret model, and I'm like, I'm out. But it's cancer survivors modeling art bras.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We'll have to get on the wings
I would
and Bras for a
love-
Cause partnered. We've done that with some
Yes.
of our one of our partners, Fleece and Thank You. They did a fleece bra and
Please
stuff like that.
is another great one.
Yeah, so we'll need to do a On the Wings of Angels
I
bra
would
for
love
the
that. That would be so cool.
Yeah, that's another thing that we really love doing. I think synergy has stopped being a buzzword. I feel like for a while there,
I love that word.
I
It's
know,
so
I do love it.
good.
I feel like pivot and COVID replaced synergy.
True.
So,
Or let's
funny.
circle back.
right, yeah, circling back. But I mean, we've been really successful to talk about that space of like competitiveness. There's a lot of nonprofits that are willing to partner, right?
right.
You might be after the same dollars, but we're gonna get further together.
That's right.
And that's the mentality that we've had as well.
And we've put them together quite often too.
Yep.
I had a
Yeah.
meeting this morning it was in the community house in Birmingham, and it was the same thing. They're trying to pivot more so to their original
Good.
way of doing things, but they want to work with nonprofits more.
Yeah.
And I have a couple that I told them I would give them their information. So
Well, that, the reason I asked you that is for that whole reason of we shouldn't be territorial and we should be better together. And it's important to me that the community knows that, okay, if you're looking for a great credit union that is super supportive of our community and where we live and work and breathe and play and our kids are growing up, take a look at Chief Financial. And also if you're looking for nonprofits to support, there's a lot of people that support us because maybe they did have a mom or a sister or a friend that went through domestic violence. But if this isn't your passion and you do want to give, what are some other noteworthy, organizations? So I appreciate you sharing that because I think it's important that the community sees the both
Yeah.
and.
Can I add something
Yeah,
that I share
absolutely.
in my class? Because
Yes.
JoJo came and taught one of my classes
Yes.
at Rochester Christian University for corporate social responsibility.
Yeah.
And, if people are overwhelmed, which I think it is,
Yeah.
right? Especially for like the younger generation that's
Yeah.
trying to figure out like how do we buy our first home in this environment?
In this environment?
Right? Like
There's a reason I got out of loans
right,
and started this.
the shell shock of going car shopping post COVID, where you're like,
Yes.
wait.
Yes.
But like, it doesn't have to be anything huge. I mean, the thing that you kept saying in that class was time, talent, and treasure.
That's right.
And then also, like, we talk about you hold the power to shape the world in your. We used to say be purse, right? But
Yeah.
now we'll say debit card,
Yep.
mobile wallet.
Yes.
And really, it's just those. The example I use in the class is where do you buy your soap? And
Tell us about that.
I mean, you can make a choice to buy a soap from Bath and Body Works, or you can buy soap from Everybody by Dutton, which is a social enterprise by Dutton Farm, which is another one of our community partners that helps neurodiverse individuals. with employment and life skills. And, you know, I mean, I'm 43, so I'm the Bath and Body Works right generation,
Same.
right? Like, so it broke my heart when I had to break up with Bath and Body Works. But when I found out that they were owned by L Brands,
That's right.
and that contributed to all of that, you know, I'm not going to contribute. I'm not going to spend my dollars to a brand that contributed to someone that was harming women.
That's right.
And I love hearing that too, because I think younger people are more in tune to that.
Yeah.
I mean, my generation, they don't care what's cheapest.
Right.
I mean, not everybody,
But yeah.
But I think that, you know, that we're finding that Gen Z and what's after that?
Gen Y, Gen X. Yeah. I don't know.
The alphabet soup.
Yes.
But no, I think they're very in tune to that.
Yeah.
You know, I did get kind of hooked on TikTok. So
I love that, Tom. I love this revelation. I did not know
Yeah.
you were into TikTok.
that's all I do
I'll
all
have to
day
send
at
you some
work,
reels.
everything.
Work.
So that's what CEOs do in their back office.
but I mean, it comes, you know, a lot of younger people on there, and I love seeing that,
Yeah.
that, you know, they're very socially responsible. And
That's
that
right.
Their position in the world
Yeah.
is, you know, a little bit the way the boomers were back in the Vietnam era, which was just before me. I was at the tail end of that. But, you know, there was all the, you know, the protest songs and protests in themselves,
Yeah.
you know,
They're trying to
against the war.
change the world, and we should.
And we didn't have that for a long time, though.
No.
It didn't happen. Then all of a sudden, it's turned again, and I love seeing that. People are
Same.
making some noise. So.
Same.
And it helps people become educated. You know, like we changed our soap at Chief.
I love that. And I love your soap at Chief.
Yeah, and actually some of our employees were like, we want the foaming soap. Why are you doing this? You know, like
Yeah.
end of the world, first world
Yeah,
problems.
yes.
But we got to sit down and be like, hey, this
Yeah.
soap supports this and this and this. You want to come to the Dutton Farm with us? You want to come to the farm? We actually, Chief had an employee from their workforce development program that came in, Patrick, and we were able to take some job responsibilities that were separate and combine them into one that was perfect for him. And I mean, I remember we were being interviewed about it, and they kept like just had this like insinuation that like us hiring him was like a charity move. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, he's a valued member of his team, and he is a valued performer on our team.
I love
and
Yeah,
so
because he had a certain strength. And we do that at the credit union in general, is try to find our employees' strengths.
Yep.
You know, Cheryl's kept trying. Because tell her
Been
she's
through
in
every-
loans,
every
she's in
department.
grants,
That's
she was
good,
in
though.
Marketing.
It makes you a good leader, though, is that you have worn so
Who would
many
have thought that
hats.
CFO would have been her passion?
I know.
So I do have two big questions to kind of wrap up our conversation. And the first one has to do with survivors, and the second one has to do with Chief as an organization. So if you had one thing to say to a domestic violence survivor that was listening to this podcast, what would that be?
Keep going.
Yes.
Keep going. Because there was so many times where I thought about giving up because it's hard.
Yes.
Everything was hard. I mean, when I first left, I didn't have anyone to take me in. Thankfully, one of my girlfriends stepped up. And I don't blame anyone that said no, because that violence was going to show up at their doorstep, you know? And, you know, every step there was just, what do they say, every level there's another devil?
Yes. Yes.
You know, so just keep going. I
love that.
promise you it gets better.
It does. I know that too. I love that. That's beautiful. And Tom?
Well, I mean, I've alluded to it a little bit earlier. I worry about the people that are in the shadows.
Yeah.
You know, don't find some help. Contact
Yes.
JoJo, Haven. I mean, there's
Yes.
all kinds of help out
Yes.
there.
Yes.
I can only imagine how difficult it is to get out of a situation like that.
That's right.
But, you know, somehow find it deep inside.
Yeah. And it's always that first step, right? I always talk about
Right.
jumping without a net. You got to jump without a net, and the net will appear in every area of life. So
I love that.
I love that. And then to really wrap us up, what are some big things on the horizon for Chief Financial Credit Union, and what are some things we could look forward to from your end of the spectrum that you can share publicly?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're really an open book. So I don't know if we have any big secrets. I will say that I'm super excited because part of my journey was rebuilding my credit. My credit was demolished
Yes.
in my relationship, and I did that by taking out these little personal loans at Chief and paying them back, and letting that credit history show, and then a little bit more and a little bit more, and we actually, there's that saying that like, oh, to build your credit for the first time or rebuild your credit has to cost you a lot of money, and Tom and I are both really famous for being like, but why? And so we just launched a product called the Credit Builder.
Okay.
I might start crying over this product, which
Okay,
is
I love that.
but it's, people say you can build credit with a secured loan. Well, that would insinuate that they have the cash to secure the loan.
Yeah.
So the funds from this loan are actually what goes on hold. And then as they pay it, they make their payments, they're building that credit history, reporting to their credit bureau, and then at the end, those funds are theirs. So it's like a loan/savings account.
Oh, wow.
Where you're just really getting used to those payments. And so, I mean, this could go for it can go for the 18-year-old that's trying to build credit because, they bombard you with credit card offers.
Oh, my God, yes.
It could go to someone like my situation, getting out of a violent relationship where your credit was tanked and you just needed to start rebuilding. It can go to so many different situations, and we've been able to help so many of our team members repair their credit, because you don't realize how many doors open.
That's absolutely right.
When you have a good credit score and
That's
you
absolutely
have insurance, your phone, deposit on your phone, deposit on your apartment, everything goes off of that. And so that's really exciting. And then also, I was just joking because Ashley, who you've referred to a few times, is with child.
Yes. She's going to be our first On the Wings of Angels baby.
Yes. And so when we were getting ready, she had said that she's reached the stage where Charlie now can hear and recognize voices. And I was like, okay, your money should be making money.
I love that.
So we're going to start with the
Teach 'em
financial
young.
tips.
Yes.
But we have, our checking accounts, we have an insane checking account that pays 5% on your balance. I mean, like, it's to the point, and Tom's run into this a lot, where people, like, don't believe you. They're like,
I don't believe it when I see the little deposit every time. Like,
Right.
literally.
It's too good to be true.
It feels good seeing that in my account all the time.
Right.
And yes, I do bank at Chief.
And we tell our people that, if you look at our products compared to everyone else, it's not a sale. You almost don't have to make a sale because they're designed to help people.
Yes.
With a high interest checking account, cashback checking account. If you don't have a lot of money in your account, then you get 5% back on your purchases. Yeah. Our loans on our rates are lower because we're a nonprofit too.
Yeah.
So we don't have to pay taxes, so we can afford to offer
And
lower
again,
rates.
you're passing it on to the community, to your members.
Right.
And we offer great things for local nonprofits. I mean, I was serve on the finance committee of a nonprofit. I was just on that meeting last night, and it's the first time that they brought their funds over to our money market. We have a great money market account too, which is, CDs are difficult for a nonprofit because you don't want to lock those funds up.
That's right. That's right.
It's difficult for an individual that doesn't have much funds locking those funds up as well, right? So the money market's a great option. It's the savings account that's paying more, and we were going over that balance of like what interest we earned, and I was like, that was just half a month. It was only half the month, and the chair of the finance committee was like, so is this for like only people that have a ton of money? And I was like, no, it's for anyone.
Yeah.
You just need, and he was like, oh, I'm going to call you tomorrow. So,
to get his own account.
Yeah.
My husband's runs a financial advisor branch, and he talks about that a lot because we talk about as On the Wings of Angels grows and as our funds get larger and larger, where do we end up putting that money where it isn't locked up, where, because we're a no red tape nonprofit where we give immediate and tangible resources. So we can't have it locked up. If we need the money that day, that moment we need it. And he was telling me about the money markets and things like that and different options available. Right. So I love that you talk through that.
I think we just kind of need to make sure we don't get stodgy, I'll call it. Because, everyone is used to one click. You go to Amazon, you can buy something with one click. Yeah. And I've been on a rant lately, haven't I, about member service. Yeah. Don't forget the member. Sometimes you get caught into your job day by day, we need to make sure, well, how is this going to affect our members in the end?
Well, as a member myself, I have to tell you, you all do a wonderful job taking care of us.
It's never good enough, though.
I
For me,
know, right? It's
that's
never
good to hear. Thank you for saying that.
right.
But,
As a leader, we're always looking for the next best. But I just want to wrap this up by saying thank you for both of your time today and for your support of On the Wings of Angels, as well as so many of our local nonprofits. We love partnering with you. You're kind of our ideal partner. And we just really appreciate everything you do in this community. So thank you very much.
well, thank you for
Thank
saying
you.
Thanks for
so.
being here today.
Of course.